previous tutorial I mentioned that the pen tool can be used for timeline editing, and I just want to show you how this actually works. It's not very precise, so it's not a really good way of doing it, but sometimes it's a quick and easy way. So I'm going to zoom in to see this clip, so I'm just going to zoom in so it fills the timeline, and I'm going to pull the whole thing up so you can see it a bit more clearly, and I'm going to pull this clip up, and I'm going to pull the audio down, so we can really see that we've got a yellow line here, and that yellow line is representing at the moment opacity. You can see opacity has been chosen, and the yellow line down here is referring to a volume level. Okay, so you can see we can change these here, but at the moment it's the volume level. Now if I want to animate the opacity over time, I can choose the pen tool down here, and I can click, say, where I want it to come up to 100%. So I want it to, say, fade in from nothing to 100%. Click to put a keyframe saying where I want it to be at 100%, and then go back to the beginning and click at the beginning, and then hover over it, and you can see that I've got a little circle over the keyframe I've created. And when I then pull that down, the value is changing, and I can go all the way down to 0. So what I'm saying now is, at the very beginning of this clip, opacity must be 0. You can see up here there's nothing, but at this point it must be 100%. In other words, fade in. So if I pull my current time indicator through, you'll see it fades in. Okay, so that's using my pen tool to actually change something by clicking to create keyframes. You can create keyframes, and if you then hold the control key, you get the ability to be able to actually change the keyframe type. And if I click on it, you'll suddenly see I've got a handle. And I can click and pull that handle, I can actually start to play around with the keyframe type. So the control key on the PC, the command key on the Mac, allows you to change the keyframe type. And I'm going to click and take it back to its standard linear form. We can also do the same with audio. So say we want the audio to fade in, we can click where we want it to have faded in by, go back to the beginning and pull it down, so that that will now fade in the audio. I won't play it, but it's just going to fade it into this point. And again, if I hold the control key, I can actually click on that, get a handle, and make it a lot more smooth as opposed to very, very tight. But notice the other side has also changed, and those two handles are rather locked together. If you then hold the control key on the PC, the command key on the Mac, and hit the handle, you can actually break those handles, so I can keep that one pretty much flat, but make sure that this one is separate. And now that I've broken the handles, I'm not holding the control key anymore, I'm just moving them around. So that's how we can add keyframes to the timeline, but you can also change what you animate. Now this is not something that I really recommend. I think it's much better to do it up here in the effects controls and actually open up motion and choose what you want to change. Notice we can change opacity, we can change volume as well. We've got those bits and pieces, and some of these have already got keyframes selected on them. But notice here I could, if I want, change to motion and change, for instance, rotation. Now this line represents rotation. If I start to pull it up, the clip theoretically is going to rotate, and let go, and there's the clip rotated. Pull it down, let go, it's rotated again. And you can see it's actually updated here in rotation. It's gone 32 times. So it's 32 revolutions round. Take it back 8, 2. You can see how very, very difficult it is to be precise. And really what I want to do at this point is click this button here saying reset. If you want to animate these bits and pieces, animate them up here. So if I want to animate rotation, I go to the beginning, click the rotation stopwatch, go forward and say I want it to rotate 360 degrees, click in there, 360, enter, and there's the keyframe. Okay, so it's actually done it for me, 360 degrees. Oh, I've done 260. So let's go over that keyframe, make sure I'm completely over it, use the navigator, or just make sure that you can see this bar here. So if I'm not sure I'm over it, navigate to it. There, I'm completely over it. Now I can change that to 360, enter, and it's only changed that keyframe. If I'd have been one frame out and I've gone from 260 to 360, you'll see that they're right next to each other, and you get this terrible jump between one and the other, which would be ever so quick and awful. So just be a little bit careful that you are actually over the keyframe, and that's what this navigator really is about. Navigate to a keyframe, I don't want it anymore, select it, hit delete key. So I've just got the one, oh, it's at 260 again, I'm over it, so I can select it, say 360, just got the one keyframe, and it's done a complete rotation from the beginning with a fade in to that point. So you can animate in the timeline. Again, you can change volume, you can do bypass. Bypass is simply whether it's on or off effectively, and also if you want to do right and left and you want to pan it and do the balance. So you can make these bits and pieces do it, but actually, you know what, it's really difficult to edit it up here. So much easier to edit here, where we can have so much more precise control. So that's using the pen tool to create keyframes. The way that I mainly use it, if I want to do a very quick fade in on opacity or a very quick fade in on audio, then I might go for the pen tool. But to be honest with you, I'm more likely to go to effects and go to the video transitions and the audio transitions, and I would choose a video transition, probably the default one, which is a dissolve, and actually start off with, say, a cross dissolve at the beginning, which will give me a really nice fade. And also for the audio transitions, I would probably go straight down to exponential fade at the beginning and drop that in, which gives you a really nice start. So rather than going for the pen tool and doing it this way, I would actually usually start with some sort of transition, which is going to do a better job, I think, that you can really play with the pen, which is a very imprecise tool.